Hello, hello guys. Welcome to Bridging the Realm. I'll just wait a couple of seconds for everything to make sure that everything is working. I hope you can enjoy my binaural beats in the background as well. Welcome to Bridging the Realm. Okay, it's working. Hi Tina. Thank you for joining. Okay. So there's no interview today. I just thought I really wanted to share a few thoughts that I have on the topic on self-healing and the importance of self-healing. And I actually wanted to share with you guys a really powerful meditation that I did this morning. And as I woke up this morning, instead of getting up and getting ready to start doing work and, get on with the rest of the day, I just sat in my bed and I tuned in with myself. I did like a little meditation to balance, to just be present with my feelings. And I've heard that mornings are the best time to do any type of healing work, because in the mornings, when you first wake up, your mind is fresh, and so you don't have any distractions, you don't have anything to distract you or your monkey mind from getting on with all the other important things, right? So I think probably a lot of you have noticed that in the morning, that's when you tend to feel a lot of anxiety, because that's when your soul or your spirit is really showing you the things that are not quite right, or the things that are kind of blocking you or worrying you or stressing you in your life. And obviously what most of us tend to do is to just ignore them and look at our phones and scroll through Instagram or whatever, and then get up and get on with the rest of our day. But from what I've seen and from what I've experienced so far, the mornings are just such an amazing time to really do any type of healing work, because like I said, that's when your mind is the most fresh, and that's when your feelings are the most raw. So you really have that moment, that window to work with anything that's blocking you, that's stressing you out, or that's not quite right. So I did that today, and I just sat with myself in bed. And one of the things that came up for me was this feeling of disappointment. And it's this kind of thing of, just disappointment of that I'm not exactly where I wanted to be at this point in my life, or that I'm not doing the work that I'm supposed to be. This kind of an array of, I guess, beliefs that we have been programmed to believe that we should be, we should have achieved by the time we're 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever. So I sat with this feeling of disappointment, and I knew in this moment I had two options. I knew I could just ignore it and get up and go to the shower and get on with the rest of my day, or I could just sit with it and be present with it, even though I really didn't want to, because it was just so uncomfortable. But I did. I sat with it, and as soon as I did that, well, the first thing that happened was it felt super uncomfortable, and my body was just wanting to do stuff, and I had to force myself to just sit straight and just be present with it. So I closed my eyes, I was present with it. And in a few moments of doing that, I asked the feeling to just show me like an image or a picture of why I'm feeling this way. And then in this instant, I had this image of me as a child looking at my mom and just kind of feeling this feeling of disappointment from her, getting that feeling of, I did something that disappointed her. So it obviously took me back to this memory. And straight away, the physical symptoms started coming up. I felt this knot in my stomach. I felt this like heart palpitation, and just this feeling of, why did I do this? And just feeling this kind of disappointing look in my mom's face. And then obviously at this point, I knew I had to just be present with that feeling, because it's been something that's been coming up for me quite some time, and I knew I just had to just sit and be present with it. So I did that. And then as I was doing that, it's really funny. After the feeling subsided, after I made sure I was present with it, I was able to kind of almost zoom into my mom's eyes. And in the instance of doing that, I got another image of her as a child and her mom looking at her in the same way. So straight away, I knew this is like an ancestral thing. You know, it was like something that was passed down from her generation to my generation, and it's like this pattern that just keeps passing on down and down. And I know personally, obviously, from my own family, from my mother's side, who's Turkish, their family has always been this. There's always been this thing of disappointment and this thing of comparing one person to the other, one family to the other, who's better, who's worse. So there was this huge thing that came over me that I knew it was like a huge ancestral pattern that's been repeating. And all of a sudden, within realizing that, within having this realization, I was able to zoom out and just saw this line of just all these women, these generations, one after the other, of these women, just the same image. But, you know, this time it was my grandmother and then my great grandmother who was in that image of being stared down, you know, by their mom and having this disappointment in their eyes and feeling this knot within their stomach and this feeling of, oh, I've disappointed her again, I'm disappointing my parents again. So I actually drew it to make it clearer in my own head. So it looked like something like this. So this was me and my mom, and then when I looked into her eyes, I got the image of her and her mom, and then her mom and her mom, you know? So it was kind of, so you could see the line, the pattern, and what I did within this instance was, you know, I set the intention that I no longer wanted to carry that with me. I no longer wanted to have this in my life, in my, you know, in my mom's life, in this life, and I wanted to heal basically everything. It was really interesting what happened. I kind of just imagined this light just coming down from above and going into my heart and kind of almost like transmuting this heavy energy, transmuting this feeling of disappointment, you know. And then this, I was able to pass on this light to my mom, and then she was able to pass that on to her mom, and then her mom was able to pass that on, and so the whole generation. So I literally saw this line of energy, just pure white energy coming down into me and then passing through all of these women into my generation. And it was so powerful. And I literally started to feel physically, you know, like something was shifting, and I started to yawn. And I know from previous experience of doing this kind of work, I know that normally when you're yawning, that means you're releasing energy. So I knew that it was working because I was releasing the energy. And then after some time of kind of visualizing that and going with the flow of whatever was happening, the knot in my stomach starts to kind of come undone. And all of a sudden there was this like, this opening in my stomach, and I knew that, you know, this trauma was transmuted. I knew that it was gone. So yeah, it was really, really powerful, and it was just so nice to do that in the morning and, you know, have this kind of realization and not to and I know I'm not saying that I'm never ever going to feel disappointed or have this feeling of disappointment, but I know that the root of it was that, and I know that I've at least partially I've healed some of that disappointment that's been going on in every generation in my family, which was a huge thing. And obviously with anything like that, it definitely it blocks you from progressing further in life because you feel like there's something constantly holding you back, right? So anyway, that was my morning. And I don't do that every morning, but I think I definitely feel like I should, because again, like the mornings, that's when your mind is so clear and all of your feelings are so raw and so just open and ready to be worked on, you know, to be healed and integrated. So that kind of made me think about a lot of things, and just the importance, especially right now, of us really owning, like taking ownership of all of our traumas and all of our negative experiences, and really doing the work to heal them. And I know it's so easy to get caught up in this bubble of wanting to just live your life and just wanting to feel joy and happiness all the time. But you can still always, at least from my experience and what I believe, you can definitely still feel happiness and joy, at least. And I definitely have been focusing a lot on that in the last few months, especially, and just trying to manifest a lot more joyfulness and happiness in my life. But there's always a part of me that knows this is not, it's not permanent. And, we have to go back at some point and do the work, and we have to release. And the reason why I feel this way is because of everything that's going on globally right now, because of everything that's happening with the earth and with in our personal lives and on a global scale. If you guys have watched some of my interviews with my guests, like Andrew Weston, he spoke a lot about this idea that now everything is shifting. We're shifting to higher frequencies. The earth is shifting to a higher frequency. And the earth is not going to wait for you to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this work next year, No, like the frequencies are shifting, and you either shift with it or all the crap is going to come out at some point. It's like there's no way around it. We have to do this work. And from what I know, pretty much everyone on earth, on this planet, has some sort of a trauma, some sort of negative experiences that have caused these blockages and huge issues in their life that keep repeating themselves over and over again. So there's just this, I guess I was just pondering on this idea about how much can we really postpone healing? How much can we really ignore it and just get on with our lives and just live our lives to the full and make sure that everything is happy and butterflies and joy all the time, which it can be for some time, but then I guess the time that we're finding ourselves in right now is so much bigger than our personal lives, as in we are, by healing our personal lives and our personal traumas, we're actually healing the collective trauma as a whole, as a planet, right? So this goes so much bigger than our own personal lives. And from what I've seen and everything I've read from people, from spiritual teachers who are explaining what's going on, is that we're basically carrying these generational traumas that have gone on for thousands of years. We're carrying all of these traumas, and now is the time to release them. Now is the time to do this work. So I guess it's just about, questioning, do we have balance in our life between, joy and happiness, in between healing? Because I guess both of them go hand in hand together, right? So at some point, if we really want to have that joyfulness and happiness in our life, this complete and full, not just pretending, but like full joy and full happiness, then how much healing do we have to do? So this is just something I was pondering on, and I guess, oh, thank you, Tina. I hope it resonates. I don't know if it does. It's just something I wanted to share. And I've been working a lot, especially this month, on self-expression. It's been coming up a lot for me, and I think as a kind of, especially for a lot of women now, it's coming up a lot in terms of, do we express ourselves enough? How do we express ourselves enough? And I keep seeing the numbers 333 everywhere. And from what I researched on Google, that means that it's time for you to express yourself. So yeah. So here I am expressing these thoughts that for me are quite important, and I hope for you guys watching as well, at least it resonates to some extent. But yeah, I think there's a huge part of us that really needs to start expressing our truth now and start kind of standing up for what we believe, and not in an angry way, or in a vicious way or anything like that, but just in a way of, this is my truth and this is what I believe in, and that's that, and no one can really deter you or tell you anything other than that, because this is what your soul is telling you. So if your soul is telling you that, then that's your truth. Yeah. So there are a few things that I wrote down here, which are basically to do with this, and really, yeah. So this is something interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a person called Corey Good. he is a whistleblower who some years ago started doing interviews on Gaia.com about just everything that's happening with the earth right now. He was part of a, I probably shouldn't say this because I don't want to be censored, but yeah, just if you just research him, you find out. But he was basically talking about everything that's going on right now with the earth and how, and the shifts that are happening within the earth right now. And I remember in one of his interviews, he described he had a vision of the earth and of everything basically kind of turning into chaos physically. And he said that that was a representation of what's happening emotionally, how emotionally, what people are going through emotionally, and basically all the purging that's happening right now. And in a way, the physical manifestations of everything that's happening globally are just a reflection of the purging that's happening personally in our emotional selves. So basically healing and releasing all the traumas and the negative experiences and the hundreds of years of social and ancestral negative patterns that have been created in us in our DNA. And this is us basically purging all of this stuff. And that's why the more I think about this, the more it makes sense that we really take responsibility of our own healing, and we don't wait for Jesus to come down or for something else to, come into our lives, and then we're like, oh, okay, now I can do my healing. It's so important that people are doing their own healing, and it doesn't need to be you doing an ayahuasca retreat or going to like a 5 months expedition somewhere in the Amazon to do this. It can just literally be you learning a few simple tools and techniques, like basically what I did today, and just being present with your own feelings in yourself to do this for yourself, to do the healing, and personally, and you can physically feel the shift happening within you. No matter how blocked off you might be from your feelings, you will feel something, you will feel the shift. So yeah, these are just some thoughts I wanted to share with everyone. And also another thing that I found really important, especially this year and last year, was the importance of really having that balance between the spiritual and the physical. And personally, I've been on both ends, on both extremes, and I know that either one is not good at all. So for example, last year I got way too caught up in the spiritual bubble and in this like online stuff and watching all types of spiritual videos and horoscopes and tarot readings, and it was just way too much. And I definitely feel like we do have to be very careful, because spirituality in itself can serve as a trap as well. So it's not just, the political side and everything else, but spirituality in itself can be a trap. So it's very important that we maintain that balance between the physical and the spiritual. So we're doing the spiritual work, but we're also doing the physical stuff, so our daily life, our daily work that we have to get on with, and just being around people and making sure that you still have that contact with other people to keep you grounded and to keep you just like, physically here. But yeah, that's definitely a lesson that I learned, and it wasn't a pleasant one, but I've definitely at least experienced it and seen how detrimental it can be to go too much in either extreme, too much in the spiritual or too much in the physical, because then at the same time, if you go too much in the physical, you're not in touch.
It's time now to return and wake up.
Sorry, these are
and I'm going to count now
beats, my binaural beats meditation that I normally do. But yeah, so yeah, basically to wrap it up, yeah, being too much in the physical, we do tend to lose touch with our spiritual side, which is also not very good, because then you become too cut off from your feelings and from your soul and from the whole purpose of why you're here. So yeah, that's definitely something I've been working on in the last few months, and just having that balance between the spiritual and the physical. So it's been so important, and I've definitely seen for myself how much of a difference it can make when you do have those more balanced out, and you just start to feel so much better within yourself, and that automatically starts to just reflect on everything around you. and the people who are coming into your life, the opportunities that are coming into your life are much more aligned with the real you, rather than the you that is you're pretending to be, either like too spiritual or too materialistic or too this or too that. Yes, so that was pretty much it. Oh yeah, and another thing I pondered on this morning. There's something about feeling this guilt if you're not, there's this thing about doing versus being. And I've noticed that a lot of people tend to get into this pattern of having to constantly do stuff. It's like you're either working or you're doing exercise or you're, with other people. And there's no, in between all of these doings, there's no space or time that we create for just to be, and just to exist, just to be present with whatever you're doing or not doing, right? There's this constant thing. It's like a very human thing of us wanting to constantly do something. And otherwise, if we don't, there's this feeling of like, well, I'm wasting my time if I'm not doing something, right? And I guess there comes this question of, well, what does work mean to you? Because today, for example, when I did this exercise, when I did this meditation, and there was a part of me that felt really guilty, that I'm not working, I haven't gotten up really early like the rest of my flatmates and just got on with my work, and there's this like feeling of like, oh, I'm just sitting here doing my meditations, but then there was this voice in me that straight away, as soon as I thought that, there was this voice in me that said, well, who told you that what you're doing right now isn't work, right? Because you are working, you're working on yourself. And it's like, if you were to take things into the more grand scheme and look at the two things, it's like, well, what's more important, you doing work, for like some company or whatever, things that may not necessarily even make such a big difference to other people or to yourself, or you doing work, which is work on yourself, which is self-healing on yourself, which is maybe on a physical scale, you can't see the effects that it has, but on a spiritual, on an emotional and mental level, this definitely has an effect on you and the people around you and on the whole planet as a whole as well. So it really made me question myself, what does work mean to me, and what does important work mean to me? Yeah, so I think it's really important that we just question ourselves all the time and question our beliefs about certain things and certain beliefs that we have about specific things. And we don't just kind of presume that this is the correct way to do it, and so we just continue with it. So that's definitely one thing I've been trying to do a lot more in my life now, just question everything and every belief that I have. Just question myself, why do I think that? Why do I believe this way? Where does it come from? Is it me, or is it my parents, or is it society? So yeah. Hi Rock Dodger, thank you for joining me. Typically late, that's okay. I'm always late for everything as well. But yeah, so anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you guys. And again, like this self-healing thing, I think no matter how much we want to not do it and we want to just completely ignore it, it will just keep coming back. And from what I know, and from one of my favorite spiritual teachers always talks about, is this idea that if we don't heal it now, while it's coming up, at least in some way, shape or form, it will manifest. And it really does manifest. And the more you ignore it, the bigger it will manifest, to the point where you just have no other choice but to heal that thing that is been keeping you stuck for most of your life. So yeah, I think that's such an important point to remember. And again, it's so important that we take our own responsibility for our own self-healing, because no one else is going to do it for us. I always used to have this idea that, when this time comes where we're all supposed to, I don't know, heal or whatever, something big is going to happen where it's going to be on the news and everyone's going to know about it and we'll all be like working together. But that's really not how it's turning out to be. And it really is each person to their own when it comes to healing and doing this work. So yeah, So yeah, thank you guys. If you did watch this, thank you so much for joining me and for just being present with me and with my thoughts on this subject. And again, this is, I felt like this is so important, which is why I've created a program called Heal and Manifest, which is pretty much about to do with this. It's, I've put together what for me have been some of the most powerful techniques and tools which I've used over the last few years to heal, to integrate, to clear any old energies that are no longer serving me, that are blocking me. And also there's a manifest part, which is again, the most powerful tools and techniques that I found useful in my life and in the people that I know who have basically really helped them. So instead of you guys going out there and searching for these techniques and tools, I have pretty much just put them together into this one program. So I really, really want to share this with anyone who's interested in doing this work, or and you know, it doesn't have to be with me. Of course, there are other amazing teachers out there which I would definitely recommend to people to check out, like Teal Swan, and there's just so many more. And I always talk about them in my live chats. But again, if anyone is interested in dipping their toe with some of these techniques and tools that I've spoken about today and in some of my other interviews, then definitely check out my Heal and Manifest program. It starts, I'm doing 2 free sessions, 2 free workshops this week. One is actually today from 7 p.m. From 6 p.m. British Standard Time, and there's one on Thursday as well. So yeah, I really love to share any of these techniques with people, anyone who's still stuck on, you know, which direction to go into. And the actual program works in sync with the moon cycles. So on the full moon, we do releasing workshops, and on the new moon, we do manifesting workshops. So it's pretty powerful, and it's the first time I'll be doing this program. So there's a special offer for everyone who wants to join, and I really hope that you guys can, because it will be so amazing to have you and to meet some of you guys who have been watching my videos and are interested in this work. So yeah, and again, thank you so much for sharing this space with me. Thank you, Rock Dodger, for being with me. Thank you, Tina, also for being here with me. So yes, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful Monday, and I will put the link in the description below for anyone who's interested in checking out the program. And if not, I'll see you guys this Thursday for another incredible interview with a guest of mine who's actually a shadow work specialist. He has worked with one of my favorite teachers, Teal Swan. And we'll be talking about the importance of healing, self-healing, doing the shadow work, especially now in the time that we're in right now. It's so important. So I hope you can join me then. It will be Thursday around 11 or 12 p.m. It will be a recorded session, so I'll post it on later on Thursday. But yeah, please do join me, and I hope to hear from you guys with your comments on what you thought of all the sessions. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.